Hello, Kathleen. Hello, club. Hello, Oakland Rotary. Welcome. Let's settle in. Hello, club. Hello, club. There we go. Come on. Gee, Merry Christmas. That was a cue. Welcome to the Oakland Rotary Club. We are one of 42,000 Rotary clubs in over 200 countries. Shh. But we're the, how many? We're the third oldest club in the world, one of the largest nonprofit organizations in Oakland, and we are so happy to have you here today. Welcome. So, has everybody checked in on their devices? Welcome up here, Mr. Copeland, the star of the day. Make sure you check in on your Ignite app. Do we have any guests? Guests and visitors today? Yes, John Cruz. Oh, we have a couple visiting Rotarians and honorary Rotarians. We have a mic. Where's our mic runner? Hello. Wow. Visiting, oh, here we go. Mary Rutzer. Try again. No?
Mary Rutzer.
Hi, Mary.
I'm very pleased to introduce my daughter, Julia Gonzalez.
Your daughter?
Yes.
Hello. Welcome. Oh, my goodness. All right, visiting and honorary Rotarian, Mr. John.
Thank you, President Shannon. I'm John Gressley, visiting from the Truckee Rotary Club, but I would like to introduce a guest of your club, Elsabeth Guerin, who is visiting, and she's a retired engineer from East Bay Mud and is interested in seeing what you all have to offer.
Wonderful, welcome. Do we have any other guests? I know we have two visiting Rotarians. I'm going to go ahead and welcome John and Gudrun. We're so wonderful to have you all the time, and honorary members. And both of these amazing people are past presidents of what club? Oakland number 3. All right, we have a thought for the day, Sir Gorelka. After coming home from Africa, and he's leaving tomorrow for Mexico. So glad you could join your little club here.
Thank you, Shannon. So great to be back. So joining us today is our district leader, District 517 leader, Jill Durig. And with that in mind, I thought I'd provide 3 inspirational thoughts from other Rotarians that were also leaders. And the first is, we make a living by what we get, and we make a life by what we give. Prime Minister Winston Churchill. The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. The 32nd U.S. President, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR. And the one I like, real happiness is helping others, from Cliff Docterman, our 83rd president of Rotary International.
Thank you.
So Shannon, you're right, I've been gone, and I abandoned you, but I brought you a present.
You did?
I brought you a present.
Oh my goodness.
So I had the privilege of joining Joe Parrott and a few Oakland Rotarians in Africa on safari. Then afterwards, I went and visited my Rotary friend in Jinja, Uganda. Jinja happens to be on the source of the Nile, and the Jinja Rotary Club is the third oldest Rotary Club in Uganda.
No kidding.
So here's a present for you, Shannon.
Thank you. Was that magic? The magic of Rotary, going to other Rotary clubs is really amazing. So I encourage you, when you're off, having a time off from the world, go to a local Rotary club and have some magic. Thank you, Joe. All right, this is the tough part of the job. We do have a moment of silence. I'd like to let everybody know that one of our very long-term members, who was a member since 1983, Thomas Thatcher, was a commercial real estate agent here in the East Bay, and he passed away on August 28th at the age of 98. So Tom has been a long-time honorary member of our club as well. His service is September 24th at 10:30 at the Church of Santa Maria. So if we could have a moment of silence for Tom. Thank you. All right. I'm going to announce a couple of quick events. Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, Seth. Thank you. No kidding. For those of you that, when you raise that little wand, that's a $100 donation to our Oakland Rotary Endowment. Thank you very much, Seth, in honor of Tom. All right. Okay. With that, I don't think Wayne's here. Wayne's not here, is he? No, we'll save that for next time. Okay, Peter? I'd like to make a couple of quick announcements before we give our podium over to our dear district governor. We have a must attend. We must attend next Thursday. You're not coming to this meeting. You're going to Boca Nova in the afternoon, at 5 o'clock. We have a wonderful reception there. And we're trying to get our club, we're trying to get guests to come and meet, and all of you wonderful people. So your price of admission is to bring a guest. Boca Nova. There's validated parking at the Marriott Hotel at a flat rate of $20 with validation that we will provide at the event. Very important, nice, safe, reasonable parking at the Marriott. Or you can take BART and don't worry about your car. It's also available at the City Center Garage, but the rate is $16 an hour, and we know you're going to stay for hours and hours, so you might want to use the Marriott, public transportation, take BART at City Center, and bring a guest next week. No meeting here. This is a great opportunity also for newer members that can't get here at lunch to be with us in the afternoon, late afternoon, and so we'll look forward to seeing you at Boca Nova. Yes, Linda? You got to tell them.
You got to tell them that you're at Boca Nova because it's in the valet parking, and we'll give you a validation.
Awesome. Thank you. So please come. How many of you are coming? Okay. How many more of you are now thinking about coming? All right. You got to register on Eventbrite, please, and the cost is to bring a guest. Thank you. All right. We also are all going to a ball game. And I think our tickets are mostly sold. Tom, how many tickets do we have left? There are 3 tickets left for the ball game. A's game on Saturday night, 6 o'clock. The last fireworks game in the history of the Oakland A's. So if you'd like to buy a couple of those tickets for youth, we'd be happy to take your money and give them to youth. So we'd like to get rid of the last tickets. All right. And so we also have pickleball coming up on September 28th. We're partnering with the Piedmont Montclair Club, and we're getting our team names in by Monday. So who's playing pickleball with me? Tom, Joe, Tran, who else? A couple of, Jesse Schmidt. We need a couple more teams, so need the names by Monday. All right, with that, I would like you all to please welcome our district governor, Jill Durig. Fabulous lady from the Rotary Club of Livermore, who's been a past president and a member of Rotary since 2003. And she is retired from a successful career as general manager of the Scotts Valley Water District, which has fueled her passion for clean water. Rotary has had a great benefit of her service in many areas, include working with the Rotary Action Group to help provide clean water and sanitation in Haiti. I'd love to hear about that. Serving as the board president for California Urban Water Agencies, all while raising a family in Livermore with her husband of 50 years, 3 kids, 6 grandkids, and how many in our district?
63 clubs
63 clubs and
and about 3,600 members.
3,600 in addition to her grandkids and her children. With that, please give Jill Durig a warm Oakland Rotary welcome.
Thank you, everybody. It's always an honor coming here. I've never been up on the stage before, so you guys now have officially made me a bit nervous. Usually I'm talking from the tables. I'm going to start with a few commercial announcements. You already heard about the September 28th pickleball event. We have another one. October 19th is an event we call our Avenues of Service, where you can come and learn more or tell others about what you're doing, whether it's community service or you see, this is the trouble with being really short. You know, the cameras can't see over all of this stuff. So someday I'll grow up. Really, I will. In any case, October 19th, Avenues of Service. Do you want me to go over here? Would that be easier or worse? Okay, super. Avenues of Service, you talk about your youth projects, your community service projects, your international projects. We also have a few speakers. It's light breakfast and a lunch, all for $50. It's a great treasure, and it only lasts about half a day. We finish by 1:30, and it's in Milpitas. I have a focus on this side of the bay since I live in Fremont. I am trying to show people that we have some stuff on this side too. We're doing something in January that's never been done before. We're one of 8 districts co-sponsoring something called a multi-district peace conference. It's the first one ever held in Northern California by Rotary, and it is a 3-day event. Friday evening speaker is none other than past Rotary International President Jennifer Jones, who was our first female president, and there are lots of other great speakers, so you might want to consider whether or not you want to go to one or all 3 days of that. That's January 24th through the 26th. March 9th, we're bringing back an event we did a few times in the past called Women in Rotary. It's not just about women, it's really about diversity in Rotary. Rotary changed their bylaws in 1920, so when they were only a few years old, to allow them to spread out to Asia and Africa, and they said, we're going to have no race restrictions. But they didn't like the idea of women, so they had to be arm twisted. The U.S. Supreme Court in 1987, so well within some of our memories, people old like me, said you cannot keep women out anymore. So women in Rotary are a relatively new thing in the big scheme of over 100 years old. I'm sure that Oakland 3 started out as an all-men organization as well. So that event's going to be March 9th at the Fremont Downtown Event Center. And we will celebrate not just women, but in fact, inclusiveness. So yes, men are invited to our event. May 4th, I know your club is really generous in giving to the Rotary Foundation. That's the international foundation so that you can do more projects, whether it's local projects or international projects. Some people are extremely generous. You know, my tongue, if it just would work a little bit better. They're extremely generous, and they might give as much as $10,000. They may find that their company will match, so they give $5,000 and the company gives $5,000, and it's still a $10,000 gift. Or that they have to withdraw from their IRA for tax reasons, and maybe they skim $10,000 off of that. Or maybe they just decide, I've got at least $10,000 that's going to be in my will, but I don't want my kids to have all of it, so I'm going to make a bequest of $10,000 to Rotary, and my kids will, in effect, make the donation. Whatever it is, anybody who gives a new $10,000 either gift or promise of a gift, such as in a bequest, is going to get a thank you dinner at my house. Don't worry, not cooking. For those of you who know my cooking skills, this is a big thing for your stomachs to be safe, for me not to cook. But we'll try and make it fancy, and we'll say thank you to all those extremely generous donors. And that ends, oh, I have one other thing. District conference this year, we're going to make it a one-day conference. Last year's was phenomenal. It was 3 days. And it was at Hayes Mansion, and it was very posh and very fancy, but a lot of people complained that maybe it was a little too posh, fancy, expensive, time sink of 3 days. So this year we're going to go the other direction. We're going to keep it only one day, May 31st, and we're going to have it at a less fancy venue, San Jose State University, so that we can keep the costs more reasonable. Everything's expensive these days, but it won't be quite up to Hayes Mansion standards. And I hear the food might even be better. So that's May 31st. You want to keep that on your calendars too. Which brings me to, what about my year? You've been hearing a lot about the magic of Rotary. Magic of Rotary is so important on so many levels. I have two big things I'm asking for this year. First, you are all Rotarians. You know what the four-way test is. We all know that you're supposed to consider whether something's going to build goodwill and better friendships, and yet it's a presidential election year. And you might see the wrong bumper sticker on somebody's car or see somebody wearing the wrong hat. And it's just hard if you want the other mayor or you want the other president or you want the other whatever to remember that you're supposed to be building goodwill and better friendships. So my first request is just remember the four-way test and try to be kind this year. Whatever that opposing opinion is, you know, we're respecting other Rotarians, other people, because those other positions are important to build the diversity of thought that we need to make this place great. So first request, be kind. Second request, find your passion so you really can make Rotary magic. You heard that I'm a longtime water engineer, retired from Zone 7 Water out in Livermore as their general manager, but spent many years working in the lab, designing projects, doing things. My passion's water. There's a surprise, so that's why I work on the Haiti projects. But I suspect everybody in this room has something that makes their heart go faster too, something that you consider your passion. So, Shannon, I'm going to ask you if you could maybe bring a panel of 3 people and help me out. Oh, they're already up here. This is my other side of the room.
There you go.
Woohoo. Okay, very well done. And just, yeah, I'm going to ask... you know, it might be easier if they can pass a hand held back and forth, or they can be up here so we can see them either way. But then we have to worry about not falling down the stairs, too.
Do we have a handheld, Ralph?
They're working on it. So, in the meantime, I am going to ask these 3 fine panelists who were voluntold they'd participate, no doubt, to answer a couple questions, and I'm going to ask you all 3 the same question because I'm hoping for 3 different opinions. Again, we're cherishing those differences of opinions. First question, roll the drums. Of all the Rotary projects in which you've ever been involved, and that doesn't necessarily mean as a Rotarian, because I know sometimes the way you get sucked into Rotary is by volunteering outside of a club experience. What was your personal favorite? Which one made your heart go pity-past the fastest?
Well, since I have the mic, I will start first.
There you go.
First of all, I will say that there are so many opportunities that I could think of and so many different projects, which is one of the beauties of being in Rotary. We're a club of doers. But the project that I would have to say, because I was deeply involved in it many years ago, was we used to have a home building community project here. And we had the opportunity of taking a blighted home in East Oakland and converting it to a wonderful energy efficient home and then sold it as an affordable home to a person in the city of Oakland. And it was what I would call a win-win-win-win, because through that project, we also combined with Laney College, who also provided training opportunities and so forth. And then someone from there got hired by a Rotarian, so it was just a wonderful project. So that has to be my favorite, but there are some others that come close.
Great. Thank you.
All right, so my favorite is, my passion is youth services and helping our young people reach their full potential. So my favorite projects so far have been the Hope Committee. I have an amazing mentee who's a junior in high school, and we met when she was in 7th grade, and our relationship just has continued to grow, and I just know I'm going to be friends with her forever. And then secondly is Enterprise Institute. Harold Lowe turned us on to that. And it's just a fantastic weekend, so I'm going to give you all a plug here. March 14th to the 16th, we're focusing on networking, and we're teaching young juniors in high school how to promote themselves, how to unplug, and how to find, and hopefully to find a career path or occupation. And we need Rotarians there to help show them the various options that we present here.
I think that's magic.
So many things that I've done here really are thrilling, but I am going to pick one I do have done for years: food distribution in partnership with the Alameda County Food Bank on the Laney campus. Community college campus. I love education. It's a passion of mine. And so I love being at the campus, and I love talking to people that we are distributing food to, and them telling me about the most fabulous geography class that they're taking, and various things about their lives and what the community college offers. And then I love the fellowship there, because I'm always with 6 or 8 Rotarians in each shift, and we all have fun together, and Rotarians are all really wonderful people to spend time with. So it's enriched my life.
Thank you. I know I'm on a tight timeline, so I'm going to try and abbreviate my story here. Making magic happen isn't waving a wand anymore. Unfortunately, we don't have Harry Potter in our clubs. My club does have a professional magician. I'm going to say musician, but meant magician. And I can tell you that he uses the 3 T's of Rotary to make magic perceived by his people watching his show. So the 3 T's of Rotary are time. He has to spend a lot of time practicing those. You want me to be even closer? Oh, okay. I was going to say, I feel like I'm knocking the walls down here. I'm so loud. In any case, time. It takes time to practice the tricks. Talent. He doesn't have the klutziness that I do. So when he practices a trick, he actually gets good at it. And the last is treasure. Most tricks, you have to spend a little money to get a little something out of it, whether it's buying rabbit food for the rabbit you pull out of the hat or whatever it is. But so the 3 T's are used to make magic happen. My next question is going to be, he gets to see the responses from his audience in the sparkles of the eyes of the people who are benefiting from his 3 T's. And we do the same in Rotary. Sometimes when we do something, when we create Rotary magic, we can tell that it was really magic by looking at the eyes of the recipients. So I was involved in a water project when we first hit water, and we were pumping the well to see how much water was coming out. It was like squirting out of the ground, and it was in a village who had never had water before. And these kids were running through the water and playing and dancing and so happy as it was squirting around on them. The magic in their eyes, the sparkle, wasn't just the water coming out of their hair. It was them seeing Rotary magic. So, can you tell a time when you saw Rotary magic happen?
I see it happen all the time, but when I see the recipients of our scholarships stand together, talk a little bit about their lives and their careers in school, the opportunities we focus on, first-time family member going to college, what a huge difference it makes in their family and in a number of ways. That's when I see magic in the eyes.
I think the magic that I saw, that I've seen again, from fellow Rotarians, I'll never forget when Marie, and she's not here, but I hope she's on Zoom, spoke before Rotary for the first time, and she said she was a terrible public speaker, and she is not. She was amazing, and so that growth was spectacular. And then, that's it, because I know we're out of time.
I'm going to go a little bit different route. The magic that I saw once was actually seeing someone have the opportunity to help others for the first time. And so many years ago, I had my daughter come and help us pack books at Jean Valhas's place that we were going to then distribute to third graders in Oakland when we had that program going. And I had my daughter and one of her friends, she was in high school at the time, help out with that. And just to see them get involved in service and to see that sparkle in their eye was something that I'll remember.
Yes, they're all three wonderful examples, and because I'm on a tight timeline, I'm not going to take a whole lot more. I'm just going to ask you all, listen to how magic happens, and don't hesitate to contribute one or all three of the T's to the Rotary, to get involved in a community service project, or maybe make a donation toward a scholarship, or bring out your talents and hammer some nails to build a house or whatever it is. So remember those three T's and remember what it means to be a Rotarian. And I'm going to thank each of these voluntold panelists, because what we do when we thank people is to give them pins. And these pins show a little owl peeking out from behind the curtains, because these three have demonstrated that there's a lot of knowledge in this club to help President Shannon through her year. Thank you.
Oh, and I have okay, thank you. And I do have a gift for you. We have a history book of 100 years of our club and an Oakland Rotary hat, because you have to wear gear at all times. But thank you so much. Thank you for humming. So with that, we have a very special guest who's also one of my neighbors. Brian Copeland. I asked last week how many of you have seen KTVU in the old days, and many of you raised your hand. Brian Copeland is an East Bay native. He began doing stand-up comedy at age 18 and soon opened for entertainment legends like Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, and Smokey Robinson, among many others. Copeland would go on to co-host the morning talk show, KTVU Mornings on 2, and other talk shows on KGO Radio and ABC 7 in San Francisco, and he was just getting started. Brian also had the most amazing one-man show called Not a Genuine Black Man. Have any of you seen it? I have. Ooh, look at all those hands, right on. It's almost 1,000 performances at the Marsh in San Francisco and the 20th anniversary. Amazing program about growing up in San Leandro, and it's just a fantastic program. Earlier this year, Copeland was cast in Spinal Tap 2 with a long-awaited sequel to Reiner's 1984 comedy about England's loudest band. So actor, television, and now author. I also want to just say he's always says yes to nonprofits and to causes, and he was my hero when I had a walkathon for my son, tuberous sclerosis, and he put together a comedy show for us with his many friends. You're the best. Please welcome Brian Copeland.
How about a hand for President Shannon, ladies and gentlemen? That was lovely. Thank you very much. And it's funny you say I always will volunteer for things. Basically, I'm here because when Shannon asks for something, I do it whether I want to or not. It's kind of how it works. Like, I remember one time she had me do this. I found out I was doing a benefit show for you one time because I saw my name on a flyer. I saw my name on a flyer. And I go, what is this? She goes, oh, I forgot to ask you, by the way, it's next Thursday. I was advertised, so I showed up. When I ended up here, I was at the produce market buying nectarines, and I feel somebody tugging at my shirt. And I turn around and it's Shannon. Oh, I'm President Rotary now. Here's when you're speaking. So here I am, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be here. As Shannon mentioned, I've been very fortunate that I have done been able to do a lot of different things working on stage. I'm still doing one-man shows. I've got the one that we did about a year and a half ago started called Grandma Me, about my grandma raising me as a single mother after my mom died. Me and my four little sisters by herself, and then me later on being a single dad with my three. And that I was lucky and fortunate in that won the Broadway World Award for Outstanding Solo Performance. Right now, you can see me in television. I'm a contributor on NBC's California Live, which comes on weekdays. Weekdays at 11:30, I think it is, on NBC throughout California. But the big change that's happened to me over the course of the last year is I have become a published crime novelist on top of everything else. My first crime novel just came out. It came out in April, and the way that this happened, it's kind of a life lesson, and it's kind of an interesting story, and I'll tell it as briefly as I can. It goes back about 20 years. 2000, I was in a situation where I was going through a divorce. I had just left Channel 2. I had been doing stand-up at that point for about 18 or 19 years. I had been, touring and things, and I just didn't know what I was going to do with my life with all these changes that were happening. So I went to this place in San Diego called the Optimum Health Institute, and what it was a real woo-woo place, where you drank wheatgrass juice and ate raw vegetables and walked around and pondered. And so that's what I did. So I sat down one day and I thought, okay, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? What are 3 things I'd like to do? Okay, first thing was I wanted to do a one-man play. I knew I wanted to do that because I wanted to be able to do more than just stand up, be able to do drama and tell stories too. Second is I wanted a part in a major motion picture. And the third thing was I wanted to write crime fiction, because I had been a mystery nut and a crime fiction and thriller nut my entire life. It started when I was like 9 years old when I found the first Hardy Boys book, The Tower Treasure. And I remember I read every single one of them, from The Tower Treasure to The Mysterious Caravan. I read every single one of them. After I got done with those in high school, I got turned on to Perry Mason, and I read all 120 something of Mr. Gardner's books. And then from there I went on to other crime fiction. So I figured that would be at the end. I would do the solo show first, and then at the end, later on when either I was tired of performing or I physically I couldn't perform or something, I would write, and that's what it was I would do. So the issue was I didn't know exactly how to go about doing it. So this place where I was staying in San Diego, across the street, there was a strip mall, and they had a bookstore, and I went in and I bought 2 books. I bought Stephen King's On Writing, which is if you're thinking about writing a book, and everybody says they want to write a book. If you're seriously thinking about writing a book, pick that up. It's the first half is memoir about how he wrote and started writing when he was a kid and all his rejections, and it takes us all the way up through Carrie when he finally made it. And the second half is primer in terms of when to use adverbs and how to structure sentences. I've read it 4 or 5 times. It's a great book. Second book I got was Sue Grafton's A is for Alibi. Has anybody here read Sue Grafton? By a round of applause. Oh, a lot of Sue Grafton fans. Okay, so I went back to where I was staying, and I read the Stephen King book, then I read the Sue Grafton book, and it was amazing. So I went back and I got the second one, B is for Burglar. And so I started to read. I decided to read everybody who had books out that were popular, so that I could learn what it is that they did and kind of figure out how they did it. So I had been doing this about 6 months, and I started thinking, man, I wish I could talk to some of these authors and ask them how it is they do what they do. Then I realized, wait a minute, I've got a radio show on KGO. Why don't I just invite these people on and pick their brains? So the first one I had on was Sue Grafton. She was up to N. N is for Noose. And during what my trick was, I'd have authors on to promote their books, and then during the commercial breaks, I would ask them questions and pick their brains for what it is that I was going to do. Again, this was supposed to be years down the road. I'm just in preparation in the background. And so she told me some great things. The way she came up with A is for Alibi was she was going through a divorce and nasty custody battle, and she would lay awake at night thinking of ways to kill her ex-husband. And she knew she couldn't hurt a fly, so she killed him in a book. And so A is for Alibi. The victim is Sue Grafton's ex-husband. That's who the victim is. And they ended up later on becoming friends, and they laughed about it. But she taught me some interesting things. One of the best advice that she gave me was, when you're writing one of the two things you need to know if you're going to write a mystery. Number one is you need to know who committed the murder and why. That's the first thing you got to know before you start. Who did it and why? And the second thing is if you're writing and you get stuck, throw in a body. Just throw in another body into it. And it gives you a whole other avenue to go down. So she was lovely, and she was so gracious. I had her on as a guest, radio and television, all the way up to Y, to about 2 weeks before she died. She was promoting Y is for Esther Year, and we were talking about the final book in the series, which was going to be Z is for Zero, and she passed away and didn't make it to Z. So the series ended with Y. So the next book that I read, I wanted to talk to Walter Mosley, because I read Devil in a Blue Dress. Anybody read that or seen the movie with Denzel? Okay, so I loved this book, and I loved the detail in it, and and the fact that it was a historical drama, a mystery. And so I started a book club on KGO, and the way it worked was, if I picked your book, you had to be willing to come on as a guest to talk about it to the audience who's read your book. So, I only picked people who had books I wanted to know stuff about. So I picked Mosley. And Mosley come to find out, he wrote that book living in Santa Cruz. He was in Santa Cruz and he wrote Devil in a Blue Dress. And so during the break, I asked him, I said, your detail, it takes place in 1940s Los Angeles, and your detail, it's so vivid. What kind of research did you do? He goes, made it up. I go, what do you mean you made it up? He goes, I made it up. It's called fiction. I made it up. He goes, everybody knows certain places, you can mention Hollywood and Vine or Sunset Boulevard, and everybody knows that, and then you just build things around it. And so I thought, okay, that was one thing that I learned, that I can make stuff up. I don't have to be necessarily married to the truth, because it is fiction. Now that contradicts something Sue Grafton told me, because Sue Grafton, Kinsey Milhone, her detective Kinsey Milhone, lives in Santa Teresa, which is really Santa Barbara, which is where she lived. And I said, why did you make this up? She said, because if I used a real place, if I used Santa Barbara, I would get a letter from some idiot going, there's no stoplight at that intersection. So, okay, so that's conflicting, stuff. So in the meantime, I wrote Not a Genuine Black Man. It was supposed to be 6 weeks, and then I'd be done, and I was booked at the Improv, I think, in San Jose, and it exploded. And I got offered a book contract to write a nonfiction book based on that play. So, which again surprised me, because my plan had been to write, fiction later on. So I get a contract, and they gave me this big advance. I got half of it when I signed, and I would get the other half when the book was turned in. So I worked like crazy to get it finished, because I wanted the rest of the money. So I made sure that I was on time. So in the meantime, I have been listening to a lot of Jonathan Kellerman, and I say listen to because he was the first book I heard on Audible, and his Alex Delaware books. Anybody read Jonathan Kellerman's Alex Delaware books? Yeah, they're great. If you've not read them, pick them up. He's a clinical psychologist. They all take place in L.A. And listening to the audiobooks is how I learned how to do voices for my one-man plays, because John Rubinstein, who reads them, is great. So I'd read about, maybe listen about 20 of these books, and I'm writing on A Genuine Black Man, and I would have pages due at certain periods of time. So what I would do when I had pages due is I would price line a hotel room, a 3-star hotel like a Hilton Garden Inn within 50 miles of San Leandro where I live. I would go in for a week, I would lock myself in all day, and the rule was I could not leave the hotel room, not even to go eat or anything else, until I had done my writing for that day. And when you're supposed to write, what writers spend a lot of time doing is procrastinating. So I would sit there and watch judge shows and, just procrastinate as much as I could. So one day I'm procrastinating, and I go, I wonder if Jonathan Kellerman has a website. So I Google, and yeah, he does. So I go to it, and it says he has a contact me thing. So I contact him. Hi, my name's Brian Copeland. I'm a writer. You're a writer. Let's be friends. Now, this is a New York Times #1 best-selling author. Within half an hour, he writes me back. And we start this correspondence, and basically he held my hand through writing Not a Genuine Black Man, and he mentored me through the whole process. So between he and Stephen King, I learned how to get a book done. Stephen King said write 1,000 words a day, 5 days a week, same time, whether you feel like it or not. And then that's what the discipline is, whether you feel like it or not, and if you start it, you finish it. So I ended up doing, he helped me get the Not a Genuine Black Man written, and it did very well, and the play ended up becoming the longest running solo play in Bay Area theater history, so I did that for 7 years, and as I said, I've done 6 subsequent plays since then, and I had a play that the Grandma and Me I was just telling you about was supposed to open in April of 2020. And it didn't because of the shutdown. So I thought, I was going crazy. It was me and my 20-year-old son are quarantining together, and it's like, what am I going to do with myself? I thought, well, I've been thinking and planning and preparing to write this book, this mystery book, for 20 years. Why don't I get off my butt now and do it? I have no excuse not to do it. I plan on starting later when I couldn't do anything else, but right now I can't do anything else. So I knew when I started, I knew who my detective was. My detective, his name is Topher Davis. He's an African-American investigative TV reporter for a station in San Francisco. I decided to set it in the world of broadcasting because I know the world of broadcasting. I knew who my family was, because I wanted it to be a series. And when you have a series of books, you have a family, meaning that you have certain characters that are in every single book that people can count on they're going to see. So his family is his producer, his camera person, his brother-in-law, his little dog. He's got a little Bichon. I've got a little Bichon. And the other thing I noticed reading like the Spencer books and a lot of these books is that all these guys, all these detectives, with the exception of like Kinsey Milhone, all the rest of them have a partner who's a badass. Like, somebody who can get in a fight with 20 guys in a bar and win. And I thought, the thing I've never seen is a woman in that role. It's always a guy. What if I made the tough one, the woman, and I'll make him Lois Lane, that he can't fight and he can't shoot, and he's the one that's always got to be saved. That's the way that I'll do it. So I had all that set, but I had no plot. Okay, I have the plot. Okay, where do I go? And then we had a shooting in San Leandro of an unarmed African-American man in the parking lot of Walmart by the police. It was a man who was in some mental distress, and mental health would have been better than having a police action in that instance. So I thought, if you look at these shootings, there had been a bunch of them that took place that year. If you look at these shootings, they all follow a certain narrative. And what the narrative is you have the shooting, you have the officers immediately put on administrative leave. They'll usually hide the officer's name, they'll hide what happened for a while, then the video comes out, then there's outrage. Then there's an investigation, and 9 times out of 10, it's found to be justified, and then there's outrage again, and then it goes away until the next time. So I thought, what if I wrote a story about what happens with the families, the family of the cop, and as well as the family of the person who was shot after the TV cameras go away, after the media goes away, after people start talking about this particular case because the next one has happened. And that was my jumping off point. My original title for this book was Administrative Leave. That was what it was that I had called it. And later on when I was shopping it, it was my agent who changed the name because she thought Administrative Leave, you couldn't tell what kind of book it was. So we had a routine at my house. My son Casey's a musician, and he had all of his musical equipment and stuff in his bedroom, and I had a spare bedroom that I'd go in and write. And we get up in the morning, have breakfast, I'd go and write, he'd go work on music. At the end of the shutdown, he had an album completed, and I had this novel. So that's how we spent the shutdown. So I found an agent right after things started to open back up, and I got 25 rejections, and I thought it was a lot, and I come to find out it's not. That usually it's like hundreds of rejections you get before you sell your first novel. And I got 25 rejections, and they bought it. And so after they bought it and they, laid out all the galleys and everything for me to check or to edit or change anything last minute, right before it was set to release, they said, we think this is going to do well. Write us another one. And I go, really? They go, yeah, write us another one. They gave me a deadline, so I wrote a second one. Now, what I decided immediately, at the very beginning before I started, I knew that I wanted every book to be about something. I wanted, to entertain people, of course, because that's why you pick up a novel like this. I wanted it to be entertaining, but I wanted it to be social commentary as well. So what I did with the second book, what it's about, is the difference in same characters, again, Topher and his crew. It's about the difference in coverage between when a woman of color goes missing and when a white woman goes missing, in terms of the police attention and the attention that the media gives and so forth. And so I had a woman I have a woman in Pleasanton who goes missing, and it's like a Lacey Peterson thing. And then this African-American woman comes to Topher and says, well, I'm from East Oakland and my daughter's missing too, and I can't get anybody to do anything. So that one is called Shadows of Justice, and that one comes out April 29th of next year, and it's available for pre-order now. So I turn that one in, same deal, then they come back to us and they go, write us 2 more. And I go, really? They go, yeah, write us 2 more. So I'm working on the 3rd one right now, and their plan is to release one every spring. If people buy them. And the first one, apparently people are buying it because they came back and they wanted more. So I guess the whole point of this entire thing is it's actually there are a couple of points. One is to take advantage of an opportunity when you've got it, and then even though you don't realize it's an opportunity, and the opportunity was having a year of nothing to do. That was the opportunity. There are people I know who tried to bake sourdough bread and all that kind of nonsense. Other than waiting for toilet paper to be delivered to Rite Aid, there was nothing else to do. So I took advantage of the opportunity. Number 2 is when you set a goal, you prepare for it as best you can, and you break it down into pieces, and you do it until you're finished. That is something I learned from another writer, Stephen J. Cannell, who was a TV producer who did Beretta and the A-Team and The Greatest American Hero and a lot of these shows. And what he taught me is that once you start to write the manuscript, you do not stop until it's finished. You make as many notes as you want, but once you start it, you're committed, because there are a million half-finished books and novels in the world. You know, everybody wants to write a book, but nobody finishes it. And so that's the part that I learned, and that is once you start, you're committed, and you do it until you're done. So I believe everybody's got at least one book in them, and when you decide to sit down and write it. Because the fact that I have been able to do it shows that pretty much anybody can do it, I guess. I brought some copies with me. Anybody who's interested in picking one up, afterwards I'm going to sit at the table in the back, and I've got some copies, and I'd be happy to sign them for you. So I hope you'll read it. Right now on Amazon, it's got 4.8 out of 5 stars. So it's doing very well. So
I want to give you more room for questions. I just
want to do that?
Yeah.
Well, can I do this thing?
I want these people to ask you something.
Well, they want to go back to work. Don't you guys want to go back to work? No? Nobody? Okay, if there are questions, why don't we do about 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Does that work? Okay. Okay, fine. Okay. Yes, lady in red in the back.
Lady in red. She got the memo.
Thank you very much. My name is Alita. I'm wondering, to what do you attribute your great success in so many different areas?
Boredom. That's the truth. I have the attention span of a 3-year-old. And that's kind of it. It's just boredom. And I've always had like all these, if I decide that I want to learn how to do something, I do. And I will tell you that in these creative endeavors, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to do things. But in terms of like everyday stuff, fixing something or changing the oil on my car, I'm absolutely useless. I got to change a light bulb, I call an electrician in my house. But that's what I attribute it to. I find something I'm going to do, and I just do it and make mistakes until I get it right. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Mary Jiang.
Hi, Mary.
I'm happy to see that you are doing well with your mystery writer. But I also saw one of your one-person play.
Yes.
A serious topic called The Waiting Period.
The waiting period, yes.
Yeah, and you were at a place where things were not doing well, you're depressed, and you bought a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So and the idea is that you have to have 10 days waiting before you get a gun. So how did that happen, and how did you get out of this depressive period?
That is a long story, but I'll tell you about the waiting period was my second show. Because I touch on I've dealt with depression since I was a kid. I didn't realize what it was until the events of Not a Genuine Black Man, where I talk about it. I was 35 before I was diagnosed with it. I didn't know why, when I was 12, sometimes I didn't feel like leaving my room all weekend and that kind of thing. So I came to a place where I touched on it in Not a Genuine Black Man, and then after that I had a real bad bout. I had one of the worst bouts of my life I had shortly after that 7-year run, where within a short period of time, my grandmother who raised me had a stroke and suddenly passed away. Went through a divorce, second divorce, without notice. It's kind of like I'm leaving. And then I got into a car accident where I had a spinal cord injury, had to have major surgery on my spinal cord, and they weren't sure if I'd ever walk again. So my recovery was lying in bed. It was 3 months, 3 months of sitting on the couch at my house by myself wearing a neck brace and taking Vicodin, popping Vicodin, which is not the best thing to do for your psyche anyway. And so I was so depressed, I was suicidal. And so I went and I paid for a 32 Beretta time cap, but there was a 10-day waiting period before I was able to get my hands on it. And during that 10 days, I came to my senses. So fast forward about maybe, 3 years after that, 4 years after that, and a friend of mine had a nephew in Oakley who was 15 years old, and this poor kid one day sent out a dozen tweets to family and friends saying, "I love you," and then he laid down on the railroad tracks. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to tell this story about what I almost did, because then maybe there's some 15-year-old kid who will hear me tell this story and realize, there is hope. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. People care. So I did it for like a year and a half, and it was well received, and a lot of people have told me stories about how it helped them. But I could only do it about a year and a half, and I had to stop because it started to suck me back in, because it's such a dark show. Because what I do is I take you through that period of time so you know what's going on inside the mind of somebody who's going through that kind of darkness. So I stopped doing it, and then Robin Williams committed suicide in 2014, and I knew Robin. And my publicist at the time had been the publicist for Rock Hudson, when Rock Hudson told the world that he had AIDS. And he said, when Rock Hudson did that, it changed the conversation, because AIDS was always something that those people had. But here was somebody we all knew. And so it changed the conversation. I thought, well, maybe what happened with Robin can change the conversation too about depression and about suicide. So I came up with this program where I would do the waiting period for free to the public at the Marsh in San Francisco. 1 or 2 Sundays a month, I could do that without it sucking me in, and so that was 10 years ago, and 10 years later, I still do it. It's free to the public. We do 1 Sunday at the Marsh in the City, 1 Sunday at the Marsh in Berkeley. Just look at their website to tell you when they're all 12 noon shows, but they'll tell you the dates. So come on down, or if you I tell you to come if you're somebody who struggles. I tell you to come if you're somebody with a family member who struggles, because a lot of family members just don't understand why you can't just snap out of it because the sun's shining, because it's a disease. It's a disease. We got time for one more, or no?
I'm going to ask it.
Okay.
American Fiction. The movie.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, it talks about how sometimes sensational sells better than great writing. Any comment on that? We only have a quick reply. That's kind of a big question.
Really quick reply is, actually, that's really not what it's about.
Okay.
What it's about is how, based on the race of the author, a certain type of book is expected to be produced. And really quickly, my first book, Not a Genuine Black Man, it's a memoir. And when I walked into Barnes & Noble, the first thing you see is autobiographies, biographies, memoirs. My book was not there. My book was back in the corner in African American Studies. All right, so when this book came out, and again, my protagonist is African American, but there are, quite frankly, more white characters than black characters in this. If you look on Amazon, where they have the rankings for the various genres, the first genre that pops up is African American mystery and thriller. And then it has mystery and thriller, and it has literature after that. And I thought, okay, wait a minute, why are they doing that? And they, well, it's because your detective's African American. And I thought, wait a minute, Alex Cross is written by James Patterson, who is a white author. Let me look and see right now. Alex Cross books, they're all just under thriller and mystery. So that's what American Fiction is about. It's about the ghettoization of books by black writers. So,
wow.
Thank you very much. I'll be back in the corner. I hope you'll pick up a copy.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for saying yes when I was behind you at the Estudillo Produce. When I was listening to his book, because I finished it before this meeting, it was like comfort food for me, because it was about San Leandro and Castro Valley, and Estudillo Produce was even in the book. And it was really fantastic. I encourage you to read it. And thank you for all you do for the community, and thank you for your free shows for depression. It's very, are you in Rotary? Are you a member of Rotary?
Am I a member of Rotary? I guess I'm gonna be now.
Oh, just checking. Just checking. All right, well, obviously this is the best club in the world, and we'd love... See, I can't help myself. Anyway, I want to tell you that we do have a speaker's gift. We actually give a donation to Polio Plus, which is trying to wipe out polio, even though it is still a scourge in this world. And so in your name, we'll be donating to Polio Plus. Thank you very much for coming with us. Okay, so with that, I want to thank everybody that helped with the meeting today. And And I want to say that we all are in this together, and it's time to go out in the world and make magic and be kind and be inclusive and help the community. Thank you, and this meeting is adjourned. Right, Jack. Oh, come buy some books. He will sign them, and we have a credit card, $25. Cash is good. Thank you for your help today.